Hello. So I forgot to shoot last night because I had some visitors, but I wanted to keep up with the continuity. So I'm shooting next thing, shooting the thing next day, and the first thing next day. So next day morning, I'm right here in front of you all. So as we talked yesterday, I was going to talk about, I was going to speak about whatever I thought about my journey was, whatever I remember, whatever is in my mind. So that's it. So I'll start from my early childhood. So they're not. I cannot exactly pinpoint what is the first thing I remember, but I was born in Janakpur. Janakpur is a place in Tarai belt of Nepal. So my grandfather used to work as the railway ticket collector. So he had a job there. So for that, my family had moved from Gorkha to Janakpur. Precisely, there was a place called there's still a place called Khajuri. So they were situated there, and my grandfather got quarters in Janakpur. So he shifted from Khajuri to Janakpur while doing a residency transfer. So I was born there. I was uh, raised there up to a point. My family had me, my mom, my dad, and my granddad. My mom was the only one. My mom was still young. She was, I think, 18 or 19 years old when I was conceived. I was born. So, and I was the eldest child. The society that we lived in were not so, what should I say, comforting because the things that we hear about aunties and everything, the backbiting that they do, the mm, discrimination that they do based on how much do you have, how rich you are, how pretty you are. Those kind of things were pretty dominant there. So, as my mom told me once, if you were not a son, the life would have been difficult for me. That's what she said. At that time, I was too young to understand this, but now that I do, I feel I wonder how was a married life before children and everything. How did she tolerate those 2 years of that society, that kind of mentality and everything? So now coming back to me. So when I grew, the first thing I remember is my nursery class. Of course, I had a best friend. His name was Supreme. I don't know the cast now, last name. So in my nursery class, it we had to go through this small alley, and it was in the left side at the corner, and it had a huge board on the wall that had all the alphabets written on it. So that's the only thing I remember. I just remember the structure of class and the fact that I had a best friend there. So after that, in class LKG, I remember a little bit. It was just besides nursery. And in LKG, we used to study words. I don't remember much. After that, there was UKG. I remember that. No, LKG A, LKG B. I studied LKG for 2 years, as far as I can remember. So I studied LKG, I studied UKG. So just because I studied LKG for 2 years, my parents decided that I should skip UKG. He doesn't need to study. That means upper kindergarten. That's how it works in Nepal. Lower kindergarten and upper kindergarten. So I skipped UKG. I remember going to my teachers and talking about that. I want to study in class one directly from this, and they approved. So when I went to class one, all my friends, I was the senior right now. So I had to start making friends once again. But the thing is, at that point in your life, when you're so young, making friends is not that difficult. Because after a while, when you grow up a little bit, when that adolescent phase comes in, that's when you start being picky on who you like, who you don't like. But in childhood, whoever you sit with, they become your friends. Whoever you talk with, they become your friends. Friends do not have such kind of constrained meaning to it. So that's why it was easy to blend in. So in class one, uh, once again, I don't remember much, but I think it was in class one when my brother was born, starting of class one. So there's a fun story about my brother being born. I always told mom I wanted a sister, I wanted a sister, I wanted a sister. But when my mom was in the hospital for childbirth, and I was in maternal uncle's house, who lived in Janakpur as well. So when he told me that, hey, you have a brother, I was so angry at that time. I thought, why brother, why not sister? I won't allow him in my home. I'll beat him up and everything. I cried out so loud about it. So I still remember walking angrily that day, because those some vivid memories I still have of that time. And my uncles never forget to remind me that once and again, time and again. So yeah, that was it. And but I don't think that feeling transcended even the next day, because when I met him, I was like, okay, now this is my lifelong friend, and this is the person I should nurture. I should help my parents, everything, with everything I could. I was a child, but those kind of things, I remember me thinking those kind of things. So yeah, so next year, when I was in class two, uh, my brothers also started schooling at 2 years old, just the way I did. So, uh, uh, my brother was brilliant. So we both used to study poems, and there was this poem in my book, Basanta. Basanta no Ritu Aru. Uh, so me and my brother, we had both memorized it. He was just 2 years old when we memorized it. Uh, so he was put in school as well, the same school, Holy Cross higher secondary boarding school. It was a big name. So he was too scared to go sit in his own class. He told me, "Brother, I want to sit with you." And I asked mother before leaving for school. He's saying this. But I said, "Okay, keep him in my class, no worries." So I kept him in my class. So everybody liked him because he was cheerful as always. He was fun, but the girls in my class were like, "Ah, brother." That's how girls are. And it was Nepali class, and he was sitting there right beside me. Everybody was, the teacher was asking, the assignment was to remember that poem that me and my brother had memorized about. So when the teacher asked who remembers the poem, who remembers the poem, there was this another guy. He was like Birendra, his name was. He was like the first guy in our class, and he didn't remember the poem. And then my brother stood up. The brat he was. He recited the poem perfectly. My teacher was amazed. He was like, "Oh, such a young boy, who are you?" And I told him he's my brother. And the Virendra guy was so embarrassed. Uh, so yeah, it was interesting. But after a while, the principal of our school, he came to our class. He was like, Mm, I hear. No, he didn't know anything. He just came to our class. He was just inspecting, random inspection. And that Virendra got up and said, "So, my name was Omraj at that time, uh, formally in the school. Omraj has his brother here." And principal was. He came in, he looked at him, he brought me out of the class. He took me to the middle of the ground, and it was like this long pipe. He hit me. He smacked me with it. I think 6 or 7 times. I've never had such a beating in my life up till that point. So the little guy I was, I couldn't handle it. I couldn't, and I was sick for 7 days. I had high fever. I didn't know how to return back to that school. I couldn't even comprehend what I did wrong to get such kind of beating. And after that, my brother never came to my class again. So that's what I remember up till class two. So I still remember the face of that principal. Once, 2 years back when I visited Zanapur, I saw him once again. But whenever I saw him, The only memory that flooded in me was that one. So I think let's do this much for today. We'll continue this further.